Advisory Board meeting to order, and I will have Blair do roll call, please.
Mr. Capitan?
Here.
Mr. Steen? Ms. Fry? Here. Mr. Hagan? Here. Ms. Haugen? Mr. Davison? Here. Mr. Madler? Ms. Saar? Ms. Bollinger?
Here. Thanks, Blair. In your packet was a copy of the May meeting minutes. So if there is no changes, if they've been reviewed, if you have reviewed them, I would entertain a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. That was quick. Next item on our agenda is, as it is the responsibility of the zone board, the advisory board, to do the evaluation and review of me as the director of the zone. And I'm going to turn it over to Vice Chair Brian to discuss how that happened and for probably action related to the acceptance and delivery of that review.
Well, I just got a couple notes I'd like to just talk through a little bit. But I think, when I look back at this and I started writing this up, I look back at, the transition that Gail had to work through when she first got here. A lot of turnover. People were left voluntarily, involuntarily, and stuff like that. So it was quite a orchestrated event to kind of pull this off. A lot of challenges, a lot of hard work, a lot of job anxiety, nervous staff, trying to build that respect as you move forward. But I think, Gail's done a really good job of going through this through integrity, compassion, and stability, and really just using a very active listening process. And some of the other comments that come in, the goal was to stabilize the zone and Cass County social services through very effective communication. Plus, encourage staff to be involved. I think that was a great deal. This is all about.
Okay. I only said 3 minutes. We did meet on, what was that, the 22nd of, so Brian did meet with me individually and go through the review.
Obviously, we had other people with the organization. But, I think some of the challenges, though, is that both staff and so right working through that was a great plus for you guys. That hiring has always been a challenge. I think, as we talked about it, the speed of hiring, going through faster pace of hiring. Onboarding, training has always been a challenge within this organization. There's a lot of changes going on. We talked through some of that stuff. I think one of the things we talked a little bit about is some of the challenges of being an advisory board member. What is really our cadence? We're trying to still figure out what we really do, what we influence stuff, and how we help you with your initiatives. I think, kind of summarize it, you've done a really good job building trust with the staff, and some of your goals were respect, integrity, and your dedication to solve problems. Overall, I think you're doing a very good job of going back to those thoughts, and you rated Gail as seats for training sites.
Thank you.
Good job. You've done a really good job.
Thank you.
Your hands have been full.
Appreciate everybody's support and all of your time in putting that together. Samantha did kind of spearhead it with Brian because it is a little different situation on how that review is done. So I appreciate that, Brian, and I appreciate everybody's time here on the board. And most of all, I appreciate all the team members at the zone because the leader, it's not just me, it's everyone within our zone, our 100 and maybe we're at 119, 113 team members. And the last 2 years wouldn't have been possible without everybody stepping up to the plate and being part of that significant change. So do we need a motion to accept the review and file it? Is that, I think we did something like that. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We might have somebody on. Okay. Any discussion? Any discussion? If no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. We'll move on to, Carissa joined us. Carissa's our Family Services Manager. She is one of the Family Services rock stars, put in a lot of time since her new role as manager in December. But we really wanted to share some of the updates related to that co-created support and stability plan that was rolled out probably August, right around August of 2023, to help stabilize family services in our zone with supports internally and externally. And the PowerPoint or the packet includes a PowerPoint that was presented to our Family Services Department 2 weeks ago, maybe, to kind of put a bookend to that process. We rolled it out in August of 2023, and I'll admit, people thought probably I was crazy, but something needed to be done, and it was a time of significant flux, for lack of a better word, and we needed to put something to bookend to the whole department to show the changes and the impacts and kind of the light at the end of the tunnel, but some positive things moving forward as far as even new ideas coming to light to help our team move into the next realm of that. And I think I personally can say, walking through the floor, like some days everybody has different stresses at different times, but it's a lot different flavor than it was even July of 2023. I'll say they've made significant strides forward, and it's everyone on that team, and we're not getting resignations daily, so that's a great thing. I think that, and Chris, I'll let you introduce. There's some of the leadership team from Family Services in the room, so I think we should introduce them as well. But I'm going to turn it over to Carissa to talk a little bit about that, kind of walk through that PowerPoint and some exciting next steps.
Well, thanks for having me back. Last time we were here, we talked about some pretty heavy stuff about really just how we're serving kids in our community. So this is a great opportunity for me to be able to come in and share really like the growth, the development, and kind of really some of the positive things that we've really seen happening for our team. So as Gail mentioned, some of our team members are here to join us today. So Megan Dahl, she's our newest
Raise your hand.
management supervisor to join our team. Brad Hassler is also on our case management supervisor team. And then Rebecca Nye is our operations supervisor for our family service team. We do have four other supervisors who were not able to join us. So our 3 CPS supervisors, Ashley Lill, Jody Clevin, and Mavis Brown, and then one other case management supervisor, Tammy Russler. So that is our leadership team on our floor right now. We are currently full for our leadership team, which also is super helpful for us to be able to support our team members. So I just want to run through a little bit some of the highlights of our support and stabilization plan, things that we have and will continue to be utilizing, even though we're not formally in our support and stabilization plan, but also just drawing some attention to those things and how we plan to continue to move some of those work streams forward as we grow and develop our team. So If you guys are looking at your packet, kind of at the very beginning, like Gail talked about, the initial numbers that we drew were from June of 2023. So a little bit ahead of when we started the formal, like actionable pieces of our support and stabilization plan. But at that point, our CPS cases there were 444 open on our team. We had 7 of our FTEs filled, and one of those FTEs was actively onboarding. So really only 6 of our FTEs were taking cases at that point, which is a little bit less, a little bit more than a third. We have 15 FTEs, so a little bit more than a third of our team was full at that point. Our individual worker, the highest capacity that we had at that point was a worker that was carrying 73 open cases. So currently our target range for our workers is between 20 and 25. We really would love to see all of our workers under 20, but realistically with where we're at with onboarding and new team members, 20 to 25 has been pretty manageable for our team. So as you can see, we were 3 to 4 times higher at that point for one of our case managers, or for one of our CPS workers. And then the response time that we were meeting was really only at 39%. So we were really only achieving what we wanted to by policy as well as by practice at that 39% mark. So that's what really started the awareness of needing to have something different in place for us to support our team and stabilize our team, which brought us kind of to the 4 work streams. The 4 work streams really wanted to focus on hiring and onboarding. They wanted to focus on that backlog of cases, the support. How do we offer support to our team members as well as to our leadership team at that point? And then how do we really support moving forward the coaching and mentoring of our team members? So that's kind of what the 4 work streams were that really were focused on. What it meant for those work streams is that we needed to bring in additional support to help our team members. So our state partners came in. They really helped us be able to provide different supervision. So our CPS supervisors actually moved back to taking caseloads, full-time caseloads in August of 2023. So they began taking cases on our batching schedule, which means we needed supervision for our team members. So the FSSs, which are our field service specialists from across the state, started to step in to provide supervision to our team members on our CPS team. Along with that, they also, each of our supervisors were connected to an FSS who provided them the coaching and mentoring about how then they can learn coaching, mentoring once they move back into their supervisory roles. Then we also had people, and you probably heard us talk at other meetings about the number of team members we had coming in from other zones to actually take cases. So in here, we'll get to that slide. I guess it's not a slide in the paper form, but we will get to that section that will really talk about the specifics of what those state partners offered. But we did have workers coming into our zones for anywhere from 2 to 5 days at a time to take cases, which really helped then with our team members who were in person here. The other big thing that happened was related to that onboarding work stream. We did have our partnering zones, Buffalo Bridges, RSR, and Agassiz Valley helping us with onboarding. So we were sending our workers out to those particular zones who were doing the onboarding for our team members because they, at that point, had more stability and ability to provide better supervision as well as training to our team members. So they were going off to those zones to get trained during that onboarding process, and then collaborating back with us in regular routine meetings where we were talking about their progress, what they could do, what we could have them do here, what they were doing there, and how that transition back to our team looked. So I'm happy to report that right now our team is full for our 15 FTEs for our CPS workers. So we do have a full team. We have all of our team members except for one right now on full-time batching, which means they are routinely getting cases. We do have one right now that is still actively in onboarding that is getting cases at a graduated rate. As she is gaining proficiency, then the number of cases she will be getting will continue to grow in that regard. So, so definitely that hiring and onboarding stream has increased. We have, which there'll probably be an update in a bit, but we have posted for a trainer position again for our team so that we will have in-house regular, consistent training for both our CPS and our case management team. So we are working on getting that position filled again, which is exciting. And then we also have shifted some of our FTEs to strengthen our CPS team. So they will be, we have requested 3 of the FTEs we had be reassigned over to our CPS team. And they will be on a PM shift that will take place roughly from 11 to 8, noon to 9. Exact hours haven't been identified yet, but we are in the process of hiring for that team. And I think we talked a little bit about that maybe last month at the meeting, but really just looking for those opportunities to how do we serve our community that's growing, that has diverse needs greater than the 8 to 5 schedule. So we will have a very stabilized team that will consist of 3 CPS workers, 2 case managers, a placement worker, and a parent aide, and then a supervisor for that team. So we are in the process. Those are the only positions right now that we are currently hiring for because the rest of our team is filled. So again, that hiring and onboarding stream has been really great regarding the support for that. So as you kind of scroll through all of the documents, you can see just as that support and stabilization plan has continued, you can continue to see those numbers going down for the open caseloads that we have. You will see, I think the backlog slide that is in there really does talk about 86% of our backlog was reduced through this support and stabilization plan. But the biggest thing that I think was really great for all of us to see is just how the timeliness has improved. So we have very few cases open over 120 days as of May 20th. And then we only have 1 that's open greater than 6 months. And we have 0 that are open over a year. And that was not the case when we started this plan. So that was really exciting for all of us to see. And so, like I said, you will continue to see as you go through the slides, like our hiring, the number of people we have on board is higher, our open cases are lower, our timeliness is routinely increasing as we are going through. And then I did mention, as we were talking about that statewide partner support, there is a couple of documents in here regarding what that statewide support looked like very clearly. So the 3 zones, 15 workers, the 7 partners, that was the area I didn't touch on. Also, they were offering us what we call process management. So we have some experts across the state who really have high skills and knowledge about our safety framework practice model. And so we were able to send off our notes and our documents about the cases we were doing assessments on. They were able to get them written into the tools and send them back to our team members to help with really that timeliness of getting paperwork done. So that wasn't holding up cases getting closed. We also had some really strong internal support. Sometimes it's hard to capture that because every single day our team members on our floor are working so collaboratively and working together so well that it's hard to often pinpoint exactly who is doing what. But we did have 3 of our case managers who did step forward and volunteered to go to work in CPS during the support and stabilization plan, which then put that extra load onto our current case managers who then absorbed their caseloads so that we didn't have any families left kind of out there hanging. Everybody still got assigned to a case manager, but certainly put that extra pressure on both sides of our team then. So we did have them step forward. Like I mentioned, we had our CPS supervisors shift back to doing full-time caseloads. And then just the day-to-day, everybody really stepping up and helping out with whatever needed to be accomplished whenever it needed to be done. Whether that was training, taking people into the field, answering questions for people, picking up extra cases, picking up extra on-call, any of those things. All of our team members did that without hesitation, which really helped in that support and stabilization. One of the things that I think we've really seen with our team members that I think speaks to that support to one another is we are now getting, as our rosters are coming in for people being hired, we are seeing written on there that they were referred from somebody who currently is employed within our team, which I think speaks volumes about how people are feeling about the culture and the agency as a whole. So I think that really speaks volumes to how well our team is doing collectively. So that is all of those pieces. The only other thing that I wanted to touch base about regarding the work streams is the support work stream. That has always been the primary focus of our leadership team is how do we support our team members? What does that look like? How do we want to continue to do that? I think one of the things we really saw in this stabilization plan is how the team now felt supported from the entire state, all of our state partners. So it really helped us build up relationships in that regard too, and kind of break down some of those myths that we believed about each other to be true, that were indeed not true, so that we really can continue to work forward supportively and collaboratively together. And then really we're just focusing right now on that coaching and mentoring. Like how do we support our team members in regular routine coaching? How do we support our supervisors in having confidence in being able to provide good supervision, mentoring, and coaching to their team members? And we're really just working collaboratively together on getting some good structure set up around that as a team. What else?
Questions for Carissa? Or anybody in the room, I guess? Not
Or the back row?
Yeah, the back row are experts as well.
So if I heard you correctly, you talked about expanding hours. Somebody is coming on board, whatever it was, 11 to 8 or. So are you staggering that amongst the workers, or is just one person going to handle that time frame?
Yeah, so we're hiring an entire team. So we were kind of in like the perfect sweet spot where we had just enough FTEs open to actually create a team that will work collaboratively together on that shift. So we'll always be the same 7 workers and 1 supervisor who will cover that shift. If we end up needing to flux somewhere, we'll figure that out. But at this point, we are hiring a specific team to work that shift.
Can you highlight some of the reasons? You know, Chris has done a lot of research behind that second shift and some of the benefits of having.
So I think right now, as we are all continuing to really work and strive on how do we keep kids safely with their families, how do we get kids out of foster care sooner, we really identified that there needed to be people who were available to provide that support to families outside of that 8 to 5 timeline. And so in Minnesota, they have a couple of different counties in Minnesota that run an after-hours shift, and so I was able to get connected to them. And they were really able to talk about how it really increased relationships with our community partners because they felt like they had people they could talk to. There was always somebody answering the phone and available. It really did help them stabilize placement. So if a foster parent is struggling with a placement and they want the kid out right now, we will have somebody a team of people who can respond to that to stabilize that placement. If we know that we need somebody because parents tend to struggle after their kids go to bed with then they want to use or they really emotionally just struggle, we know then we can plug in somebody during that time frame to just kind of touch base, get connected, get them feeling okay about things before our workers are going home for the night. We also are hoping that it will help with then the burnout of our staff that are here from 8 to 5. We have a lot of team members who emergencies come in at 4:45. We have to respond. We do respond. And so this will help us because we will have that afternoon shift that they will be able to respond. So hopefully we'll reduce the number of workers who will have to be working well into the evening and then turning around and having to come back during the daytime. So really just looking for and hoping for some stability in a number of areas and support in a number of areas to our families, our staff, and our community.
A couple questions. What do you think are your couple biggest challenges in the community that you're seeing? You know, if you could fix a couple things to, you know, I mean, is it just, you know, tension in the community? Is it doing, I mean, what's the bottom line reason why you're seeing the numbers and stuff? I know the numbers are better.
Yeah, we're still getting in the same number of cases per se. We just have more bodies to take them, which is helpful. So, I think that the growth in the community, like our agency didn't keep up with the growth in the community. And so it was hard to respond timely, efficiently, effectively, because you only have so many people to do that. The second piece is, I think, like on paper, there are a lot of services available to families. In reality, those services are not always available to families because there isn't staffing. There isn't people to do the work. There isn't the right match. Like, oh, I can take that. I have the capacity to take that, but I don't have the right expertise to be able to take that kid in right now. We do not have a lot of youth services for chemical dependency, for any inpatient type mental health treatment for youth. So that's a big struggle. There also is not a lot even for adults, for parents to be able to have their kids with them as they are going forward with any type of inpatient treatment that they might need. And sometimes parents can do that, sometimes they can't, but those services are not in place in this community for families to be able to access them timely, which has an impact. If you can't get kids safe, then kids have to go somewhere else. The other big issue is we don't have a lot of foster homes right now who are available or who want to take kids over the age of 2. 2 with no behaviors, no issues, no trauma. But other than that, there are not a lot of foster homes that are available and open either. So it's hard right now for families to get what they need.
You know, a suggestion on that, in the past, we've had challenges with that too over the years. And there was a one time we did a marketing campaign, you know, years ago, and actually proved to be pretty effective. You know, and maybe you're doing that today, but there are some ways to do that out there. Because we were,
Services or for foster parents? Or both?
it was for foster parents.
Yeah. So our state partners, the licensing team has moved to the state. They are facilitated through the state. And they are currently, like right now, if you walk through the walkway, there's a banner up for there and they have some tents out. And so I think they are actively working on those pieces. And I think they are seeing some impact. It's just time. It's always time. It takes, just like hiring, takes longer to hire people, takes longer to vet people for foster parenting. They have developed now a couple of different tiers of foster parenting, which hopefully will help with that. There is a relative license now, which is great because lots of relatives could do it, but financially it was a burden, and so they didn't have those resources. So now there is that level, a relative level. Then there's the traditional foster parent. So there's a respite level. So there are some different levels now that they are adjusting to, but it certainly continues to be a challenge that we're trying to partner with our state about to get that accomplished.
And that could be reflective. You asked that question about what's changed. Needs of youth. And if we don't have the services available, it's hard for a foster parent to step up and take a 10 or 11-year-old with some significant concerns or services needed and not being able to fill that out. So, yeah, I think there's some changes that have happened most recently, but there is also a kind of a little bit of a desert related to those services and the ability to access those services in a timely manner. Other questions? Anything you guys want to offer? Thank you. Thank you. It's really an exciting, from my perspective, exciting time in the department. And I just want to say as a reminder, Carissa came in, she's been with the Family Services Department for years. But she accepted the manager role right in the middle of this stability plan. So in December, so we were already transitioning in that regards as well. So she's really stepped up to the plate, and she talked about having others on that team stepping up to the plate, but it was nice to have an internal person step up to the plate and really take the leadership in that department. And I think we're seeing the fruits of that happen now with it's nice to hear when the recruitment, when internal people are referring their friends, relatives, with acquaintances to apply here. That's great. I think that speaks volumes to the community. Robert?
I would just say bravo to you and everybody, because this is a considerably different story than we were hearing a few years ago. And I know it didn't just happen. There's a lot of work from a lot of people that have gone into doing this. And I'm sure you'd be the first to tell us there's more to do and more still to accomplish. But this is pretty good to what I know some of the reports that we were getting 3 and 4 years ago. So it's very much appreciated and acknowledged the work that you've put into this.
We have a great admin team. We have a great leadership team throughout the zone, all the departments. And I think we're hitting stride now. So it just takes some time. So we'll get there. So appreciate that. Thank you, Carissa. Let me look here. Next is the operations report was included in your packet. So I won't, other than update you on a few items. Since this report went out, our 2025 zone budget was approved by the state HHS, and we're about at 13.8 million was approved. We did, in the budget update in your packet, we did a recalc recently and lowered our budget, our current year budget, to about 11.8 million. And one of the significant, much of that is personnel. With a zone our size, it's the personnel, salaries, benefits, and that's where we have those vacancies. That's where some of that budget change is. 2 things that will be happening in the future is we did get approval in our recalc budget to purchase 2 vans. So the zone will be purchasing vehicles and having all that direct expense for the zone. And in the 2025 budget, we will be purchasing 2 more. So we have to figure out how we're going to do all that maintenance and all of that, but we have a kind of an idea on that. At our last board meeting as well, Adult Protective Services was here, and they talked about the kind of state of guardianship within the state of North Dakota and the lack of dollars. They had run out of funds for guardianship, and since the writing of this report, the funds have been, there's about $100,000 now that have been assigned for guardianship. So in speaking, it was 100,000, right? I think.
I was thinking it was for 100
guardianships.
but
I don't remember correctly, but there is now funding for guardianships, and I know our team members were grateful for that and feeling a lot more at ease. So I wanted to give an update on that.
How long do you anticipate that funding will carry that program through?
I was just talking to a couple of our team members, and they felt like it would be enough to get them through what they were expecting. At our zone director meeting, guardianships was also brought up at that time, and that the Directors Association was talking about doing a letter together for, Kyle, you probably know, what is that called? Like there's a fund, the Emergency Commission, but this funding has now come through, so I suspect the department found some dollars someplace to fund that for a bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right, exactly. But I wanted to give an update on that. Economic assistance summary is in there, and the statewide timeliness, still working on that, but have made significant strides in timeliness, from about 70% in March to about 80, just on 83% in April. And that's getting clients, customers, their benefits in that timely manner. So the team is doing really well. There's a lot of spreadsheets involved in all of this because I do think there's some, well, there's probably some system issues related, but we're making strides that way. And that is going well. Shayna is here. Do you have any updates or anything you want to share? Econ- And then family services, Carissa did that. Go ahead.
I just have a quick question. So and maybe I misunderstood when I was out in Bismarck. So did economic assistance change some of their hours of serving people too? Or was it just family, child protective services and that whole thing? It was my understanding that, and maybe it hasn't happened yet, that there was gonna be multiple years of,
That hasn't been brought to our attention yet. I have, because Commissioner Salter came to a directors meeting once and talked about how his experience in like you have more workers in the beginning part of the month, for example, working till 7 because that's when people, and then goes off. That hasn't been shared.
that was the conversation I was involved in.
Yeah, yeah. That's where I got the feeling that might be a future, but it hasn't been discussed. I think the timeliness is key. Correct, correct. No, we just look at our supervisors and Shayna as a manager. It's work items and processing those work items. So, yes. Hopefully not. Hopefully that's better because that increase, I just printed off this morning the update. I don't know where I put that. The backlog is a lot less in economic assistance than it was, but it is a statewide. We're working the programs statewide. So we can have, I don't think I can even say how many are Cass County, other than here, we pulled the Cass County. That does not mean our workers are working these cases. Yep. No.
So are you talking about in regards to spreading out the work outside of Cass County for the eligibility? Is that the change you're talking about?
That's happened.
Oh, no,
We
I
are
understand
working
that.
set- Yeah, yep. I don't see that changing.
I come from the perspective that Cass County could do a better job if we hired more people and we were doing our work better. And that's not the perspective that PHHS has.
Oh, so again, I think if you listen to Wayne and have a conversation with him, and again, everybody doesn't have that opportunity. I think first of all, what they're trying, if you if you go into Minnesota, a lot of their eligibility workers work from home. I mean, and so it really doesn't matter if their home is in Cass County. Yeah, if their home is in Cass County or if their home is in Williams County, nobody's gonna know the difference. And so, you know, over time, as you're doing these human service zones, and they just started in the last 2 to 3 years, trying to figure out the workload, and instead of trying to hire somebody brand new that might not know a lot, you have somebody in the rural counties that have the expertise that can move them through faster. I think they're trying to figure out that balance. So like when you get into meetings, the rural counties will say, hey, our people aren't getting responded to in the first half hour that we call them. It's like, no, because we're trying to balance across the state all the needs for the people that are looking for eligibility workers to process. I think they're on the right path. I just think it's going to take a little bit more time.
Did Minnesota, go back to?
I
I
don't
thought they
know.
went to process management and then flipped back to not doing process management. Do you know,
Oh.
Shane?
I don't know.
I'm actually, I think you might be referring to Lake County in particular. That might be some hearsay, so I prefer to maybe reach out to Lake County myself and get sort of the exact, because I know that they went to like what they refer to as case banking, and then, potentially went back to more of a case management situation, but I don't know if that was for a specific style of cases, or if it was, Medicaid
Oh,
only, yeah. And so I'd be happy to reach out to Clay County and kind of see, what the past few years has looked like for them. But I think any mention of that is more specific to Clay County than Minnesota as a whole.
Okay. Yeah. Probably just heard the hearsay part of that then. And, just, from a case management perspective, which is the perspective that I advocate for, because then that gives that eligibility worker ownership over the whole process with that individual family versus one piece of it, and then passing on the rest of the pieces to other people.
No, just a real quick comment on that. It'd be interesting to see what Minnesota's, staffing model really looks like though versus our staffing model, how many cases per person and,
Well,
the.
We don't have cases.
anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
you don't have cases, but you have individuals you work with, however they count them. It'd be interesting to see, how they're handling it in the process and.
My understanding when the state of North Dakota started redesign, which was years ago, it looked at Montana and maybe Utah. Those are the models. I do have to say, I had an opportunity to hear Commissioner Salter talk. He comes from eligibility services background. So I was impressed, putting the customer, the client first. And he knows in these months that he's taken control, I think many of the zones across the state would probably agree, but I'll just talk for ours. We've gotten more information. I think Shayna would probably agree, and her leadership team and EA. We've got more specific information to understand, like, okay, this is where our work needs to go. So maybe it's more of a systematic issue when redesign was rolled out, that it wasn't really working. But now we get weekly reports. Never had that. When I first started, it was just, so there are some positive things. We will still meet with clients, as you know, Carrie, that come in. We have people on rotating basis to meet and do interviews as we can. I think the Customer Support Center has made some changes that have been helpful. And I think as any system, I think some of the more rural counties probably are having a little harder time because many of those eligibility workers wear multiple hats too. So they're probably not used to their work queues being as full and manageable, but now we're working through some of that. So I've seen some significant changes or hopeful little nuggets. It's not the case management approach, but I still think people will get their answer and can
They're
come
more
in.
apt to get it if they come through your front door than they are if they go to the call center.
The call center is getting better. I will have to say that. We got, there was just a report of somebody calling and saying how happy they were. Like, we hadn't heard those things, so that was really good. But yeah, coming through our front door too would do that. Or, yeah, like,
made it hard to focus on questions and get the answers they needed because the wait times were so long. And now they're able to be more purposeful and in-depth about their research and answering questions. And they're learning too. So a lot of them come from rural areas of the state where they weren't used to some of those more urban dynamics of cases. And so a lot of that is just a learning curve as well.
Thank you.
and then the last part of that report is relating to staffing and turnover and recruitment. And this was to the end of, we're in June, I think till the end of May-ish. So it kind of shows offers. I think that looks great. We made 19 offers year to date. 15 of those have been accepted. That's a pretty significant, a good offer to acceptance rate for our zone. So with that, just a reminder as well, when we were discussing the cadence of our meetings coming forward, we decided to skip the month of July, so we will be back in August. Any other things for the group, Kyle?
You know, I just want, and this isn't a negative, it's.
Yep.
So, you know, and again, I'm coming out of left field just a tiny bit, not knowing exactly how it operates, but I tell this to other people is, you know, when you get a budget from the state that's appropriated from the state, you should try to spend it. You don't get any brownie points for saving it, right? You know,
Right.
and especially if they're gonna do every 6 months, you know, and so to have a wish list of things that you wanna invest in or that you should as you're seeing at that budget, don't send it back. It's a black hole back at the state, you know, and so we don't need any more money at the state from with oil and revenue, so invest in what you have, whether it's sending staff to some training or whatever it might be. You know, spend up to your limits because the next time you're looking at a budget, they'll say, well, you only spent that much, right? And as long as you can justify it. you know,
Right, we've looked
New
at that.
computers or new systems, whatever it might be, different software. So
I appreciate
it's just
that.
it's just a suggestion. I mean, people are like, we're conservative in North Dakota, you know, as far as how we spend money, but when you get money, you should spend it.
In our 2025, we've included, because part of the plan and part of my review was to put together a 2025 training plan, because there are some holes just zone-wide, you know, related to inclusion and DIA. So we put dollars in for trainers to spend that, because that will enhance all of us as team members. Some things for family services, because they deal a lot with secondary trauma. Like, it's hard work and difficult work, and can be taxing. And to help maintain those team members here, we want to invest in them. So, yeah.
So when you
vehicles,
say-
okay.
When you say you're buying vans, is that just a figure of speech, or you're literally, you need like 9 passenger vans, or what do you,
We got approved for 2.
no, but do you transport people, or
Yeah,
do you, is
yes.
that what it?
Yeah,
Okay.
family services, we have 2 transporters for sure. And our team members are always transporting in family services. In the past, we've used the motor pool from the county. Those vans are getting, they've lived their life. And to be quite frank, other zones are buying it with the dollars in their budget. So why, it's a direct cost. Nobody else uses it. We should be buying it. We might need to figure out who or how that maintenance, if we have a fleet of vehicles, how that's all done, because that will be tracking as well. So that might mean a part of somebody else's FTE to support that. Yeah, 2, well, we'll have 4, but 2 right away. We're gonna get on 2 this year. Yet and move up. My understanding, some of that, because I did ask in our recalc, I'm like, where do here's $2 million we're giving back. I suspected, what I was told was it supports other smaller zones that are not making, that. So that's, because I was like, where does it go? Like, I'm only in March, and that you're asking me to figure out, where it's at. Yep. The majority of that is.
So it's really not savings per se.
If we were full, yeah.
You gotta be careful with, like, you're talking about here, you gotta be careful with that.
Mhm.
Especially if it's, you're not staffed up.
Well, with 131 FTEs, we'll always have a little transition, but yeah, appreciate
Do
that.
1 times.
Yep. Anything else? Not, motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We will see you in August.
Thank you.
Thank you.